Hello everyone, welcome to Shubham's podcast. So today's our topic is classroom to corporate, the power of industry partnerships. Today we will discuss about how colleges and companies can work together to prepare students for real jobs. We will also discuss the gap between what students learn in the classroom and what companies actually expect. Let's explore internships, live projects, and industry support can help students become job ready and build a successful career.
Hello everyone. Just recently I was visiting the institutes for GACE lecture because I am from the industry, right, the corporate world, and I just wanted to have the curiosity to share my knowledge with the students. So I approached to one institutes where, I said to them that I need, the guest lecture in your institute, and they said that let's do this one, right, and they promised. And then when the day was fixed that okay, on this day you will come and deliver your industry knowledge to the students, they denied that session, right? And then I was discussing with my friend that why this is happening, right, and why the institute or the teachers are not open for the industrial collaboration, right, and ultimately how this is impacting the students, right, and their potential career options, right? Or maybe it's really important to have a institute and then corporate collaboration. So just to address those issues or those problems, we are shooting this podcast for you. So you may be a student here, you may be a faculty from the degree colleges. So it's for you guys. Please try to understand the collaboration is really important in every aspects of life, including the institutes and industry for freshers career, right? So let's watch that podcast and make sure that you pick up some really important insights which can further effectively improve how they really operates. Thank you. See you in the podcast.
Welcome, Yogesh sir.
Yeah, again, thank you, Shubham, for inviting me in today's podcast. Today's topic is really interesting. It is focused on how institute and industry collaboration work for the freshers, right? And help students to shape not just for a short period of time, but in long terms, how that collaboration can be effectively work, right? I mean, if we see today's Indian institute, lot of institute, I mean, around 99% institute we can see they actually not able to effectively collaborate with industry, and then their students, their pass out students settle for a low potential career, and that's the objective for today's podcast. So really interested to share the insights and happy to show my thought here. Thank you.
Let's start with a very important question. Why is institute industry collaboration essential for preparing students for real world career today?
I think industry and academics or the institute collaboration is really important because I can see the institutes can effectively, groom up students in terms of the knowledge, in terms of theories, in terms of lab skills, right? But the problem here is when they want to enter into the industry. So ultimately, question is, are you fresher? And then second is, do you have any industrial experience earlier, right? Maybe it may be an internship, it may be a real time project where students have contributed. And if the students say no, then that's really becoming a barrier for them. And students suffer a lot. I mean, they struggle a lot to just land the job or even start their career, right? And few students end up with really frustrated mindset. So I think in today's words, institute has to think that how they can better seek for the industry collaboration, right? Which type of companies they can tie up, and again, it's not just transactional. I mean, you are just doing for the placement purpose. It should be a transformational. I mean, it should impact both the students, institutes, and the industry, because ultimately if you're collaborating with industry is also getting trained professional from day one, and it's better for them. But I think this initiative must be coming from an institute, not from others. So at least for students, I think I just wanted to appeal every institute, those are watching this or the freshers, please go and suggest this methodology to have really industry collaboration. Yeah,
That's very interesting point. Let's move to the next question. What are the biggest gap between academic learning and industry expectations, and how can collaboration bridge them?
I think the biggest gap in terms of the what is needed in the industry, I'll say first is the practical real-time project working experience. I think that institute cannot give, right? Second, I would say the environment, right? The way of working, the way of the processes, right? And then other ultimately the approaches. So that's lacking. That's the second thing, like what I can see in terms of gap. Third thing, I'll say it's more of like the professional communication, professional etiquettes, and like the professional way how to like really work in real time situations, or how to apply the real time, I mean the knowledge on the real time projects, right? So I think these are the gaps where institute and industry collaboration really work, because if the institute are really effectively collaborate with the students with the companies or industry, right, then they could have the opportunity where students can just transform their theoretical knowledge into practical skill solving ability, then critical thinking, right? And then they'll have also a lot of understanding about the process. So from day one they can just go to a respective companies and really shorten the training period, where like most of the companies hesitant to take the freshers. So I think the mindset of the collaboration, just like the long term collaboration, is really needs to be aimed by the institutes in like really shaping a good career for their students, and ultimately this will really increase the value for the institutes.
Now, many students face challenges. How can colleges build meaningful partnerships with industries, not just for placement, but for long-term student development?
I think this question is like really rooted in depth of the how institute today's in India work, right? So most of institute I can see like they are just not bothering about how they are like managing the industry collaboration. The way they want, like they see the industry or the companies like just for the placements. But I would say there is much opportunities if institute can really effectively collaborate with them. So seek like if you have some staff training programs, or seek if you have like certain annual meetup programs for the staff. So like the academic teachers or like institute can make themselves aware that what is actually going on, because we can see in today's life lot of technologies are emerging, and then a lot of changes are going around. So the real time changes, or what is real time currently needed in the industry, what talent type or what skill set is needed, that should be like I mean that will come like if they can really effectively approach to the industry collaboration. I would say again like encourage to have like some collaborative projects, real time projects, where the students can have internship programs or some induction programs where students can really work with the industrial experience experts, right? And then they'll have a really hands-on experience. And then fourth one, I'll say it's more of like getting the maybe a industry panel for review of their academics, right? What courses are going on, what are necessary, what needs to be replaced, what needs to be put as a new courses, right? So this all together, I think there are multiple ways where institute can try and then like have a very effective collaboration with industry for their students, right?
From your experience, what role do internships, live projects, and industry led workshops play in shaping a student's career readiness?
I think I have already answered this, right? So basically, it's transformed students from like a job-ready professional. That's like very key, I think. In this second thing, it gives an opportunity to students to really understand what the practical projects are, and like what are the practical or real-time challenges, right? So they'll be more ready when they just wanted to go for the corporate opportunities, right? Third thing, I'll like when the student or the fresher student put like the internship experience, maybe a real time projects work, or maybe like the industry exposure, or like those opportunities, if that's like really added into a fresher's resume, that will be like tremendously valued when like companies are hiring the freshers, right? So this ultimately gonna distinguish those institute students versus like the purely fresher students, those have like just the theoretical knowledge.
Finally, I would like to ask you, how can industries actively contribute to curriculum updates so students learn skills that are actually in the demand?
I think industry can proactively help institutes, so they can be having a talent pipeline ready from the day one, and they can just shorten their training period or like the induction period. So in this way, I think the industry can also effectively collaborate with the institute. Second, I would say it's not just about like I mean, lot of time the industry or the companies face a lag period where they need to train their employee or upgrade their employees, not just a fresher, right? So if industries can industry collaboration or the industrial leaders can give those insights that what is in demand, which skills the students should train themselves, right, and then what is the career path they should really work for, and what is the biggest opportunity, biggest potential. So I think for industry, again, this is a very critical role to play. But I would say industry is more focused on the business part, just making sure that their business is running smoothly and meeting its value, purpose, and objective. But here, the institute really can manage those things with the dedicated staff or the industrial collaboration, and the training programs for the faculties, and the real term exposure to the students, maybe on manufacturing side, maybe on data centers, maybe some guest lectures on the AI, new technologies, blockchain, and then data science, right? So this all together can help to really transform students from the just a degree holder to the job ready professional. And I think that's the essence of today's podcast, that how industry and institute can plan well before, so they can have really create a good opportunities for their students in long term.
So students, today we learned that industry partnerships are very important for student success. Classroom knowledge is okay, but real exposure makes students job ready. Internships, live projects, and industry guidance can bridge the gap existing between classroom and corporate. Colleges and companies must work together to build better career for students. Finally, students also take initiative and grab these opportunities.
Once again, thank you, Shubham, for inviting me. As our number of podcast is getting increased, I think we are getting more familiar with our audience as well, and we hope that we give them the expertise or consulting.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Stay connected, keep learning, and get ready for your journey from classroom to corporate.